it's great to have an opportunity to talk about the club because we don't boast about it enough, I think. I first joined 20 years ago, or nearly 20 years ago, and I think I came because writing's quite a lonely occupation, so it was nice to be able to come and speak to like-minded people, and I've always been made very welcome, so that's important too. What about you, Julie? What brought you to the club?
Pretty much the same. I've always loved writing, so it was always something that I did even as a kid. I would write little poems in my diaries and little stories and pop them in the drawer, but it was never something that I really shared with anybody else. And I think I became a mum, and when I had my kids of my own, you start to think about all the dreams you had when you were a kid, and I always dreamt of being a writer and writing, and so I started to write more when I had the children at home, and just a chance kind of encounter online, I found that there was a writing group round the corner from where I live, which was absolutely fabulous. I was nervous about going, but then I think when I went, it just exceeded all my expectations. I found a really supportive environment. I found people who inspired me, and it just became such a huge part of my life and my writing life. So, what about you, John?
Well, with me, I used to have a shop quite near from here. It was a post office in Poppies, and Margaret Thompson Davis, who was a tremendous Glasgow writer, she used to come in, and she knew I did a wee bit of writing. So she really persuaded me to come along to the club. She was forever going on about her writer friends. So she talked me into it. I went along, and at that time there was a chap called David McVeigh, who we now know quite well, and he was doing a thing whereby you put in your manuscripts, and he would take them home, look through them, and give you a crit. And he came back to me about a week or so later and said, "That's quite good. You should send that into the Scots magazine." So I did. I sent it into Scots magazine, and I got an email 2 days later to say they want to publish it. So I was like so chuffed, still chuffed. And about a month or so later, they published it, and it's still here, and it's absolutely brilliant. And I can't find it here, but I know it's in here somewhere.
I trust you.
That's okay.
It's in there. It's still in it, and it was and it made my day. And then they took on more and more of my stories, to such an extent that the editor, he suggested I put them into a book and expanded it, which I then did, and that's the book. So this is a great success story, and it would never have happened without the club. And on top of all that, we get to meet really interesting people, fantastic speakers, and I love to hear other people doing their writing as well. So it's been great. What about you, Anne?
Yeah, well, I first came along to the club as a guest speaker, actually, or to do a poetry workshop or something like that. And I was just so impressed by the club, the way everybody welcomed you. And then I looked at the programme, and I thought there's such a great programme, different activities and things like that. And I particularly enjoyed last week because Maggie was doing one on the fantasy genre and science fiction, which is something I wouldn't even think about, right? And the way she handled it and everything. And there's just been so many of these different really good workshops, groups, talks. And so it makes it all worthwhile because I come all the way from Balloch, which takes me a couple of hours to get here, but it's worth it.
That's commitment.
Well, you were one of our speakers. We've had lots of great speakers, haven't we?
We have indeed.
My very favourite, of course, was the Macker, Jackie Kay. She was absolutely
wonderful.
Amazing,
yes,
she was amazing, wasn't she? She just was great.
Very inspirational.
One day we'll maybe have her back again because, of course, her parents are from Bishopbriggs. But she was definitely my favourite. Who was your favourite?
Well, I love Jackie Kay too. But Betty Mackay, when we had her workshop, was absolutely fabulous. She writes the children's books, Wee Granny's Magic Bag and things like this, which I used to read to my children before I'd even joined the writers group, not knowing that she was associated with it. So I love that. But I also, as Anne was saying, I love the workshops. I love coming and writing on the night, and I think it gets you into that routine of writing and, makes you kind of start stories and starts pieces of work that you might not have done otherwise. So,
that's right, and it's like you hear other styles of writing, you hear different genres of writing that you would never begin to do yourself, and it really does inspire you. And I quite like you when you have to do it and you've got 10 minutes to come up with something, and if you like, you can read it out. Sometimes it's not bad. Yours are great, by the way.
Well, thanks very much. I like a bit of pressure.
Absolutely great. But of the speakers we had, one of the guys I liked was Steve Mackay, and he he really educated a whole lot of us as to how to self-publish.
Yes,
And that has
that
led
was
on
really
to, I know that Pat, our current president, and he self-published the Snap Judgment, which is doing very well. So you learn the nuts and bolts of it as well, which I think is really, really useful.
I think it makes you feel it's achievable as well, that you can have a book and you can have it out there in the world. When people come along and, you know, read their work
That's
and
true.
tell their
That's
stories,
true.
you feel like you can do that as well, because you've done that too.
Yeah, I have. Do you have a favourite, Anne?
Donny O'Rourke, I think, was my favourite because poetry's my thing. So anybody that does poetry, but he's such a good speaker and he's so interesting about the techniques of poetry as well, and you know, it's very encouraging too. See, he runs a class up in Glasgow, and a lot of people have been to it and said how good he was. But he's a personable person as well. So it's really interesting.
Although we have all these speakers, there's lots that we do in the club too, and I think it's quite nice that people come along, certain people come along, and they're there week after week, or they pop in. And they don't write at all, they just sit and listen to everybody else's writing, and they just have a great night. And that's nice too, because some people maybe just don't like to write in the club, but maybe they go home and write. Or some people do the exercises in the club and then they say, no, I don't want to read it, and that's just fine too. But I think they all enjoy hearing all the other speakers, both the club speakers and the people out with the club. So I think that's important. It's a very welcoming club to everybody.
Very welcoming,
and it's a very worthwhile thing. And the nice thing is you get a good cup of tea at the end,
So
and
you do,
a biscuit and a chat.
We do indeed.